don't let your children do anything that makes you dislike them. And I'm pretty happy about this chapter, although I suspect it'll be rather controversial.
Hey, we got an
it's predicated first on
close to the
observation
stack of
that
tires.
many people hurt their children physically and psychologically. Because everyone gets sentimental about the relationship between parents and children, but that's especially in relationship to themselves, because they think, well, of course I'm going to be a good parent. It's like, it's not so bloody obvious that you're going to be a good parent, and then what I see happening with people who don't know how to discipline their children is that the children run roughshod over them in their, let's call them hierarchical disputes, because children push for position in hierarchy, and they do that behaviorally to sort of feel out the contours of the social structure. So, your kid will act perfectly fine at home, let's say, at the dinner table, but then you take them to a stranger's dinner table and all of a sudden they act out. And you think, what's up with you, you little monster? And what's up is that they're trying to figure out what the power structure is in the new, they don't know this, of course, but they're acting this out. They're trying to figure out if the same rules apply in this new situation as apply in the old situation. And they can't ask that, and they don't even know that they are rules exactly. They're regularities that they've learned. And so they'll test, and then you have to show them that, yeah, it's the same here, it's the same in this situation. But lots of parents are very uneasy with disciplining their children, partly because they believe that if you give a child infinite freedom, that's best for them, and that constraints are inappropriate, which is really just, well, I don't know what to say about that, except it's so untrue that it's very difficult to think of anything that's more untrue than that. But also the thing is if you let your children take advantage of you, if you have an ounce of spine and an ounce of aggression, which you do, especially if you don't admit it, then you will take revenge on your children. So if they have a temper tantrum in a grocery store and embarrass you, which a child who's canny can do quite effectively, because you wouldn't let them have that pack of crayons or a chocolate bar, and then you tell yourself it's okay, and that you still that really didn't make you that angry, and it's okay, but you're fuming inside, and then you go home and half an hour later maybe the child is doing some interesting little bit of work, maybe artwork or something, or does something good and comes up for a reward. It's like the probability that you're going to reward that child properly under those circumstances is zero. You're going to take the opportunity to take your revenge, and if you don't know that, then you're not much of a parent. And so part of the trick with kids is that if your child is doing something that makes you dislike them, that you have to figure out how to stop them from doing that and teach them how to do it properly. And you have to talk to your wife to make sure that you're not being too much of a monster, and the same with her. But that discipline is partly what enables you to continue to like your child while you love them. And even more than that, parents talk about fostering self-esteem and fostering creativity and all of that in their kids, and I think that's misbegotten. It's shallow for a variety of reasons. First, it's not that easy to foster creativity because it's rare, and self-esteem is a very badly defined concept, and mostly it's been used for harm, not good. What your job is as a parent is to help your child learn from between 2 years old and say 4 years old how to act in the world so that when people encounter them, people smile and are happy they're around. Because then, I've seen kids who behave badly, and everywhere they go, people wear false smiles. And everywhere they go, people are relieved when they leave. And that means you think about that world from the child's perspective. Everyone's lying, and everyone hates them. That's their world. And then if you have your child, capable of adhering to minimal social requirements, like maybe being able to sit at the table in a civilized manner for an hour, and being grateful for being fed, let's say, and knowing how to share and knowing how to pay attention to adults, and not having that, that kind of terrible cynicism and arrogance that can develop even in a 4-year-old child who's always had his way. Then they'll interact with adults in a manner that bring out the best in the adults. And everywhere they go, everyone smiles at them and pats them on the head, maybe even tells them useful and interesting things. And so the whole world opens up for them. And that's all a consequence of you having enough courage to admit to yourself that your child can do things that you don't like, and that you will take it out on them if you don't straighten it out. And people don't like that idea.
Enemy spotted.
Well, I'd never do anything. I love my child. I'd never do anything to hurt them. It's like, yeah, God, right. You're so asleep if you think that there's almost no hope for you. You have to think, I'm way bigger than this child, and I'm way meaner, and I'm way trickier, and I'm way more unpredictable. And so I better be very careful in my relationships with this child so that the worst of me doesn't come out. And then that gives you enough intelligence to make a disciplinary framework that's minimal and enforce it properly and carefully. And then you can have an unbelievably good relationship with your kids. So.
And this idea of discipline, obviously, I talk about discipline a lot. And one of the things you were talking about earlier with regards to veterans and people that have listened to your lectures, and it's the same thing with me, people that listen to this podcast or read the books. And one of the things that I've noticed and I've talked about and I've gotten a lot of positive feedback on is, when you're in the military, you have this discipline. And beyond the discipline that's imposed on you, you also have a lot that you have to just hold the line yourself. I mean, when you're in the military, sure, you go through boot camp where there's a drill instructor that's yelling at you and all that, but once you're in the military, you're doing what you have to do. It's self-discipline. That you learn that and you become self-disciplined. And what happens is guys get out and that's gone.
Stack of tires.
That hurts them. And the other thing that hurts them is they don't know what their mission is anymore. Mm-hmm. And my big thing with people that I've been telling vets now is find what your next mission is. Go find whatever your next mission is. And I don't care what it is, but it has to be something.
Dad, bird approach. Stay
I
down.
was listening to you talk on something the other day, and you were talking about how not doing anything, when people are not going anywhere, when they're failing, when they don't have the drive, it's because they're not accepting responsibility for anything. And so my way of saying that is like, you need a new mission. You need to be responsible for something, and you need to go and move towards some new mission.
We got civilians dangerously close. Check your targets before you shoot.
You see people, that's very problematic in the civilian side as well, where people, they just don't know what they're doing. They don't take responsibility for anything.
That's part of this nihilism, is that because, first of all, you learn that truth is relative and that there's no real moral order. And, that alleviates you of responsibility. And that's why that's such an attractive message to people. But the problem is that it kills you. It kills your soul, so to speak, because, when we can talk about this technically. So, there are systems, neurological systems that underlie your experience of negative emotion, and there are neurological systems that underlie your experience of positive emotion, and they're separate systems. They obviously interact, but they're separate systems. So, but the positive emotion system, there's two of them, but one of them sort of kicks in when you get something that you want. So, you're hungry and you eat, and that feels good. And so that's kind of the simple one.
All good, all clear.
But there's a more sophisticated one that I think is even more active in people. And it's the one that tells you that